Welcome back, America. I want you to remember this title, Only the Strong, Reversing the Left's Plot to Sabotage American Power. Only the Strong has a great author by the name of Senator Tom Cotton, who joins me now. Congratulations, Senator Cotton. I love the cover.
Hey, Hugh, thanks very much for having me on, and thanks for the kind words about Only the Strong. We just announced my new book yesterday. It'll be out this fall, and it's available for pre-order on book sites near you, and it'll be available at bookstores all around the country this November if you want to pick up a copy of Only the Strong. And as you said, the subtitle is about how we reverse the left's plot to sabotage American power, Hugh. I conceived this book shortly after the collapse of Afghanistan last August. So many Arkansans asked me, what happened? How could it have come to this? And it's really very much of a piece with Democratic debacles going back decades, whether it's the Bay of Pigs under Kennedy, Vietnam under Kennedy and Johnson, Mogadishu under Clinton. These are not accidents. These are not mishaps. Democrats aren't naive or inept, or they aren't only naive and inept. Democrats have a concerted plan to undermine and sabotage American power and to weaken America and the world. And it goes back as far as Woodrow Wilson and the Progressive Era. As you and Larry Arnn discuss frequently on Fridays, that he was the first American president to openly and explicitly repudiate the American founding, the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution, and the moral basis of those documents, which, of course, undermines American power. You saw that in World War I when Woodrow Wilson refused to go to war, for instance, after the sinking of the Lusitania, or whenever Germany promised Mexico to help them regain our territory if they would fight against us. Rather, he went to war on behalf of abstractions, ideals, disconnected from American interests. And, of course, over the years, that became what Gene Kirkpatrick famously called the Blame America First Democrats during Vietnam and since then, that always blame America for the world's problems, really reaching its pinnacle with Barack Obama, probably the most ideological man to become president since Woodrow Wilson, maybe ever. And his ideology was one that always blamed America and tried to constrain America and tried to role in the world. So I think your readers or your listeners will really enjoy Only the Strong.
I think the metastatic ideology of the left deserves close scrutiny. I've done a lot of book watching in my 30 years on air, Senator Cotton. I have never seen a pre-publication book go to #1 in national and international security books. Yours was announced yesterday. It's now #1 in that category. It's already at 2,856 overall. That's just incredible, actually. 12 Books is really the best publisher in America. I really do think that 12 Books is the best imprint in America. So you've picked the best imprint, and it will come out. We'll talk about it in depth and detail. I talked to Dave McCormick earlier this morning, who, like you, is an airborne veteran, the 82nd, not the 101st, as you were in, and you corrected me last week. And I asked him about the Chinese Communist Party. You know, as a Chinese Communist Party fanatic who killed those people in my old home of Orange County over the weekend, or killed one and seriously injured four, I doubt he's acting on the orders of the CCP. But that fanaticism is there, and it's virulent.
Hugh, the Chinese communists have a well-designed plot to try to replace America as the world's superpower, and they use all the elements and instruments of national power to do so, not just militarily, but economically and financially, which has also had a devastating effect on America's prosperity. A lot of this goes back, as I explained, Only the Strong, to Bill Clinton, who made the terrible mistake, unfortunately, with some Republican support, of admitting China to the World Trade Organization after having granted them permanent most favored nation status. China's rise goes back to Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms starting in the late 70s and the 80s. But when Bill Clinton took office, China was still a relatively backwards economy. By the time he left office, our trade with China, had increased several multiples. But then on his way out of office, literally in his last 3 months of office, by giving China most favored nation status and admitting them to the WTO, he supercharged what became known as the China shock. And states like yours in Ohio, states like mine lost a quarter of their manufacturing jobs. All the while, we powered China's economic rise, which then in turn fueled their military and intelligence services to compete against the United States. It was a terrible, terrible mistake.
And the recklessness has continued on both sides of the aisle that I think it's now over, and I hope Only the Strong, your book, helps arrest that lack of awareness of the threat from China. I don't think they sent the killer to the Orange County Church. I just think that the virulence of their ideology as it is portrayed in their national state organs is going to have not a proximate cause, but some impact on the unstable in America who are fans of the CCP. I want to play for you, Senator Cotton, Elon Musk yesterday on the All In podcast and get your reaction. He sounds a little bit like Senator Cotton did when I talked to Senator Cotton a couple of weeks back after Joe Biden made one of his astonishing flubs. Here's Elon Musk yesterday.
Man, it's hard to tell what Biden's doing, to be totally frank. I feel like
it's weekend at Bernie's.
The real president is whoever controls the teleprompter. You know, it's like the path to power is the path to the teleprompter. You know, like what because then he just reads the teleprompter. So, you know, I do feel like if somebody would accidentally lean on the teleprompter, it's going to be like Anchorman. It's going to be like QQQ ASDF 123, you know, type of thing.
Senator Cotton, I don't think he's wrong.
Well, it's a very well-placed Anchorman reference.
Yes.
I think that there's a lot of progressive ideologues around Joe Biden, the same people who made up Obama's administration, the most ideological administration in recent memory. But Joe Biden often gets in his worst trouble when he goes off his teleprompter. You mentioned what we discussed a few weeks ago after his Warsaw speech. The Warsaw speech itself was kind of a classic of Wilsonian rhetoric, speaking purely in abstractions about abstract ideals, not concrete American interests and allies. So that was bad enough. But, of course, it was his ad lib at the end saying that Vladimir Putin had to leave power. Ronald Reagan was very tough on the Soviet Union. He confronted them around the world on their expansionist efforts. Yet he never called for the ouster of Brezhnev or Andropov or Gorbachev. It was an extremely, extremely ill-advised statement by Joe Biden, and that's why I said at the time, and I still believe, that we'd all be better off if he would just stop speaking extemporaneously. No more ad-libs from prepared speeches and no more press conferences or interviews, because I think it's risky for the United States and risky for world security and peace.
You know, the trouble is that he doesn't have any surrogates. He sent Javier Becerra, the HHS secretary, out yesterday. And at the end of 3 or 4 appearances, I am completely convinced that the consent decree that the FDA signed with the maker of baby formula up in Michigan is a complete sham. It's an effort to cover up the FDA's incompetence. Have you looked into that yet, Senator?
Yeah, this baby formula crisis is almost entirely a manufactured crisis because of the bureaucrats in the Biden administration. I mean, just think about what happened in the Trump administration. We produced a vaccine working with industry in record time, something that the Tony Fauci's of the world said was not possible in less than a year. If Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden had been in charge in 2020, we probably still wouldn't have a vaccine. Just like moms and dads can't find formula for their kids. Again, this is a manufactured crisis by a dumb bureaucracy, and the FDA really needs to get itself in gear.
You know, yesterday the Alliance Defending Freedom won a lawsuit on behalf of the Christian Employers Alliance versus the Equal Employment Opportunity Committee on gender identity mandates at healthcare centers. Only the strong stand up to the left-wing bureaucracy, Tom Cotton, and woke capitalism. Is there a place in the Only the Strong book? I haven't got a pre-publication copy. I have no idea yet. I hope I'll get one so I can read it as soon as it's available. But it just seems to me that everybody's got to stand up and say no everywhere. And only the strong actually do stand up to Disney, to the Major League Baseball, to Delta, to Coke, to the EEOC. You've got to be strong to say, this is absurd. This is not freedom. We're going to stop it.
Yeah, and Hugh, I talk about in Only the Strong how this goes back to the progressive era and Wilson's vision for this vast administrative state unencumbered by the messiness of elections and democratic accountability. And how they believe in big government. They don't believe in the Constitution. Also talk some about how corporations have been co-opted to the left-wing agenda in America. And you're right. It takes someone who is strong to stand up to the bureaucracy and stand up to these corporations and tell them to either get in gear when it's the FDA causing a baby formula shortage, or don't stick their nose where it doesn't belong when it's companies like Disney or Coca-Cola weighing in on things far beyond their their production operations as a business.
Last question, Senator Cotton. You're a Harvard undergrad, Harvard Law, so you didn't have the benefit of a Michigan law school education, but that's pretty good. However, no matter how much we love our alma maters, I think the future of the country is at places like Hillsdale that actually teach the Constitution, that the future is the past, that the apple of gold in the frame of silver, as Lincoln said, is what we've got to focus on. Does only the strong focus on the first principles of constitutionalism, limited government, and the value and virtue of freedom?
Yeah, I do, Hugh, and Only the Strong. Chapter 1 is called The Progressive Roots of Decline. All of these, every trend you see in America today on the left was seeded in the progressive era with Woodrow Wilson and the explicit rejection of the principles of the founding. The rejection, for instance, of a timeless, unchanging human nature as the foundation of our political systems, going in favor of kind of a historical determinism imported from German idealist philosophers. The rejection of limited constitutional government in favor of the vast administrative state that we see in Washington today. So in that first chapter of Only the Strong, I kind of explore the philosophical battle between the founders on the one hand and the progressive left on the other hand.
I look forward to reading it. I also want to warn you, Senator, since you're a runner, stay away from the Virginia runner's path along the Potomac. Very dangerous place for people.
I heard you almost got taken out.
Well, you know, you got to be careful when you're 66. When you're young and nimble like you are, Senator, it's great. I look forward to Only the Strong. Thank you, Senator Cotton. I put up a link already. Go and pre-order because you're not going to be able to get it in America. 12 Books is the best publisher in America, and they will put it everywhere. But you want to pre-order it so you get it on the first day. Only the Strong by Senator Tom Cotton.